This is Kulali and her owner Garth. Garth was a successful engineer who started building Kulali as his final life project. Unfortunately, Garth never got to see her finished. I've been lucky enough to take the challenge on of completing her build and one day to sail her around the world. Similar to Garth, I'm a passionate engineer who loves to know how things work and how to build things. Join me on this journey to bring Garth's dream to life. This is Sailing Kulali.
Buzz, what do you think about the bearing? So this is the bearing of Kulali, most likely the top bearing, and yesterday you saw that it didn't really spin. It's now 15 degrees outside, and I think why it's spinning is because the umpy, which is this stuff, has cooled down, and it must have a higher thermal expansion rate than the alley. We'll check that. So we got to make sure that it doesn't shrink so much that there's any sort of play wobble, because you want this side of the bearing to be basically a tolerance fit, so it doesn't really move around. You want the shaft side to have about 0.5 mil play, so that takes the expansion. It also gives it clearance to run around. But yeah, so today we're going to mill up the other side of this. This is Forrest, by the way. He's a celebrity. It's time to make one more of these. Ready? And boom, there's the second one. This housing, the ID inside here, inside there, is 99.2. The housing of this one's 99.4 inside. So this, I'm not too happy with how easy that can go in and out at room temperature. So I'm going to keep that as the top bearing, because the top bearing is a thrust bearing as well, so it needs to be able to spin like that, which is good. That holds the rudder from dropping down, so I don't mind a bit of spin there. But this bottom bearing, I want it to be nice and sealed. So right now, that can't go in there. And I believe that on the lathe, it actually gets a bit warm. And so this is expanded a bit more. This is 99.4. This is 99.8. So I'm going to put it in the fridge and just see whether it shrinks a bit. What do you think, Fuzz? Do you think it's going to shrink? Okay. Fingers crossed. Ooh. Alright, so that was 99.8. So let's see what it is now. It's not really that cold, so I'm not that optimistic. So that's 99.7. Yeah, 99. Yeah, so it hasn't really gone that much. So I'm going to put it back in and just try again. So while that other one is in the freezer, the next step I need to do on this is bore a hole out that is the same OD as the rudder shaft. So I was trying to hole saw through that side and then hole saw the other side so I can keep that and use it as a bearing of some sort for other parts of the boat. But what's happening is that gets so hot in there, even though I tried to cool it down, that it expands that, and then it basically binds around it like a clutch, and then tries to stop the lathe from spinning. So I'm just going to drill a big hole through there. So that's the biggest drill bit I have. It's a 22 mil. It's like about an inch. So there's going to be a lot of boring to do after this. That's some pretty cool swarf. I could probably make like a fishing lure out of that or something. That's cool, isn't it? Whoa. Whoa. Jesus. All right. Alright, so now that hole's drilled all the way through, I'm going to... Is that all the way through? Yeah, that's all the way through. I'm going to use this boring bar to bore that out so that it's the same OD as the rudder shaft. Okay, let's do it. So that's 87 mils at the moment, and we want 88. So one more mil, and then I'm going to stop. Doing the final pass on auto feed of the bearing. Alright, here's the bearing. It's that was a lot of material to remove, and it's at 89 at the moment, and the design bearing is 89.4. But I'm not going to take that 0.4 off until I've machined the shaft of the old man. But yeah, so I just got to remove this top bit because I didn't want to go all the way down to the face of the thing, of the lathe, and then it should be done. Cool. Alright, so that's out now, and yeah, I guess I could have actually just shaved that off. Alright, so that's just been in the freezer for a little bit. That's the bearing that's been bored out to 89. So just 0.4 mil more next time. Forrest, hey, come here. And that fits pretty bloody good. And so you can see from this side that the bearing extends in about 3 mil. So the idea is that if it wore that much, you'd have so much slop in the bearing anyways that you wouldn't, you'd change it out. And that's the last bearing. So now we have the bearings bored out, both to 89 millimeters, and the design is 89.4. So I can take basically half a mil more off, but I'm not going to do that until the shaft is ground. So I'm going to cool this down, fit that into there, and then we're good to go. Okay. Why is that not going in? That's it. I don't know if that's ever going to come out. Should be able to get it out. Alright, that's it. That's the shaft and bearing completed. Not shaft, that's the bearing housing completed. The bearing completed. So you can see it goes all the way through. Basically, this is an umpy bearing that sits inside a housing that's been machined up, and that's the bearing tube, which will be welded to this, and then that's the bottom bearing. So we're closer to having the rudder mounted on Kulali. Thanks so much. It's pretty crazy that there's an entire bin full of bearing swarf and aluminium swarf, and there's still quite a bit more to clean up all around. But yeah, that's crazy, right?